This is BBC One with a breaking and deeply frightening report. As many of you are aware, India and Pakistan earlier this year engaged in an escalating conflict. That conflict has now resulted in a nuclear exchange. This marks the first use of nuclear weapons in armed conflict since the end of the Second World War. Initial reports suggest that nuclear devices have been detonated in the Kashmir region and along the Indo-Pakistani border. While unconfirmed, intelligence sources indicate that the Soviet Union may have played a role in the provision of nuclear capabilities. This is a claim that is likely to heighten international tensions. Casualty figures remain unclear, but the devastation is believed to be significant. All attempts to contact British diplomatic missions in the region have, thus far, been unsuccessful. NATO representatives have convened for an emergency session. An allied response is expected within the hour. BBC One will continue to report on this frightening situation as more information becomes available. For now, we urge viewers not to panic. Please do not contact emergency services unless you are in immediate danger, and we kindly ask that you do not call BBC offices for further information. Everything we currently know has been shared with you. This is BBC One.
Those bastards, they lied. They supplied India with the nukes.
What do you mean?
This document came in from one of our assets inside the Kremlin. It's confirmed. The Soviets gave them the nuclear weapons.
Holy shit. This could ignite something between us and them. What do we do?
I have to report it. Get Washington on the line.
Sir, the Russians are going to ask how we got this.
That's for Washington to decide on how to do this, not us.
Sir, this is
Just do it, son. Get Washington, now.
United States, Ronald Reagan has won the 40th presidential election. The former California governor ran on a platform of strong national defense and firm opposition to communism. The world leaders are watching closely. In Moscow, the state media has remained silent on the victory of the outspoken anti-communist. This is BBC One, keeping you up to date with world developments. Since President Reagan's inauguration, tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union have continued to rise. Viktor Melikov, General Secretary of the Communist Party and the chairman of the Supreme Soviet, has called for the destruction of capitalism, describing it as a historical certainty. In Washington, President Reagan reportedly referred to the Soviet Union as an empire of evil during a closed-door policy session. It appears East-to-West relations are entering an increasingly dangerous phase. The international climate was already tense following the Indo-Pakistani nuclear exchange. Now it seems the situation is growing even more unstable. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher continues to support the NATO alliance, though she is yet to make an official statement on the matter.
We interrupt regular programming for local activation of the emergency broadcast system. This message is issued at the request of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. Please stand by. This is a local activation of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. The Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency has declared a nuclear power plant warning due to a developing situation at the 3 Mile Island nuclear facility. An issue of unknown origin has placed the reactor in a critical state. There is a potential for a hazardous release of radiation that may affect areas within and beyond a 30-mile radius. FEMA has issued an immediate evacuation order for residents within a 10 to 35-mile radius of the plant. Take only essential items, remain calm, and follow instructions from local authorities. If you have access to a vehicle, evacuate now. If you do not, contact emergency services immediately. Please stay tuned to this station for further information.
This is BBC One with a frightening news report. Yesterday, a grave incident occurred in the United States. To recap, 3 Mile Island is a nuclear power facility that suffered a partial meltdown in 1979. At that time, officials stated that no injuries or deaths were reported. That crisis, however, did not end. A few days ago, the plant went into critical condition once again, and this time it became what experts are now calling an effective neutron bomb. The United States Federal Emergency Management Agency has not yet completed casualty assessments. However, they have issued evacuation orders and shelter-in-place advisories, depending on the region. Experts warn that the radiation zone could extend many miles from the site. An investigation by the Nuclear Emergency Search Team, or NEST, concluded yesterday. It was determined that the incident was the result of sabotage. President Reagan quickly confronted the Soviet Union over the Washington-Moscow hotline. In response, a Kremlin representative denied any involvement. Several NATO countries were reportedly shocked by Reagan's swift accusation. The Canadian Prime Minister, in particular, was audibly upset, stating that Canada does not wish to provoke the Soviets into anything that might resemble war. Later, President Reagan held a press conference addressing the incident and unveiling a new initiative, the Strategic Defense Initiative, or STRADEFINI. Also referred to by some as the Star Wars project, it is described as a system of orbital satellites equipped with anti-ballistic missile technology, intended, in his words, to render nuclear weapons obsolete. The American public, gripped by fear and panic, appear to support the project. Reagan announced that the system is under development, with a projected full deployment by 1985. He also confirmed that a space station, designated SCSS, and one STRADEFINI satellite are already operational. The Soviet Union has not yet issued a formal response, but it is expected they will react strongly in the coming days. This is BBC One. We will return with more news as it develops. This is BBC One. NATO military movements are underway across Western Europe in what is being described as a large-scale training operation known as Able Archer 83. The exercise simulates nuclear escalation procedures, including a full DEFCON 1 scenario. We stress there is no emergency at this time. NATO officials say the purpose of this operation is to prepare member forces for the possibility of a real nuclear crisis. We now go to our American correspondent in the Fulda sector for more.
Thank you. I spoke earlier with an American officer stationed here in the Fulda sector. Unfortunately, he was unable to appear live on camera. This area has seen the arrival of American, British, and U.S. River forces, all operating together as part of the Able Archer 83 exercise. According to the officer, this sector has been retrofitted to a garrison for NATO troops, placed under full lockdown for training purposes. They were very, very clear. This is not, I repeat, not a real emergency. However, this exercise is designed to prepare troops and educate them for exactly that kind of situation. While citizens in the nearby cities are not required to participate, NATO forces will simulate a full curfew and lockdown, operating as if the area is under threat without interfering in civilian life. No additional details has been made public at this time. As soon as we learn more, we'll pass that information on to you.
Thank you, Ethan. Now to the public's reaction. Across the United Kingdom and much of Western Europe, there is growing fear that this exercise, Able Archer 83, may further escalate tensions between NATO and the Soviet Union. Public unease has been building for months. The suspension of Korean Airlines traffic back in August was seen by many as an early sign of rising international strain. Today, demonstrations have been reported in several cities, most notably in Sheffield. Panic buying has begun in some areas, though it has not yet descended into chaos. We sent a reporter to Sheffield to speak with demonstrators and local authorities. Alice, what's the situation there?
Thank you, Nancy. Alice here. As you can hear behind me, while the panic buying certainly isn't rational, the protest itself has remained peaceful. Sheffield police are on standby in case the situation deteriorates, but so far, there have been no major incidents. I've spoken with a local officer who told me that while a few arrests have been made, mainly related to shoplifting, the crowds here have not turned violent. Police say they are prepared for escalation if necessary, but they remain confident that the protest will stay under control. Back to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Alice. We will continue to monitor the situation in Sheffield and across the country and provide updates as they become available. This is BBC One. This is BBC One, interrupting regular programming for a shocking news report. Able Archer 83 was intended to be a NATO training exercise. However, the situation has taken a dramatic and horrifying turn. NATO forces stationed near the border have come under attack by Soviet forces. Our sources confirm the presence of hostile fighter jets, attack helicopters, and advancing tanks. What was meant to be an exercise has become an act of war. The Soviet Union has launched a direct assault on NATO positions. We now go to our American correspondent on the ground. Ethan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, though not well. I'm whispering because the platoon I was with, they're dead. The APC I was traveling in was hit by a Soviet Han helicopter. I don't know if I'm surrounded or what, but I'm not taking any chances. Wait. Oh no, oh no, oh no. They're coming in. They're coming in. Please, please, please. Please tell my wife I love her. But I'm not going down without a fight.
I will die before I submit to you commie bastards.
I'm terribly sorry. It appears we've lost Ethan. I need a moment. Caroline will be taking over. This is Nancy, signing off. Caroline will update you as soon as we learn more.
Achtung, Automarketten der sowjetischen Streitkräfte sind im Anflug. Die Ziele sind unbekannt. Suchen Sie sofort Schutz. Dies ist kein Test. Halten Sie ein batteriebetriebenes Radio, offiziellen Identifikation und ausreichend Vorräte für mindestens 14 Tage bereit. Wiederhole. Achtung, Automarketten der sowjetischen Streitkräfte sind im Anflug. Die Ziele sind unbekannt. Suchen Sie sofort Schutz. Dies ist kein Test. Halten Sie ein batteriebetriebenes Radio, offiziellen Identifikation und ausreichend Vorräte für mindestens 14 Tage bereit. Wiederhole. Achtung, Automarketten der sowjetischen Streitkräfte sind im Anflug. Die Ziele sind unbekannt. Suchen Sie sofort Schutz. Dies ist kein Test. Halten Sie ein batteriebetriebenes Radio.
This is BBC One with updates to the European conflict of 1983. A couple of days ago, Soviet forces launched an amphibious and aerial assault on American military installations in Alaska. Reports from Anchorage describe devastation, and we assume occupation. In a shocking revelation, NATO forces, keeping President Reagan's promise, have launched tactical nuclear strikes against the advancing Soviet columns. Leipzig, Dresden, and Magdeburg have reportedly been struck by low-yield nuclear warheads delivered by American Parachute 2 missiles. Soviet state media has denounced the attack as an act of nuclear aggression. Unconfirmed reports indicate that Stuttgart and Hanover have already been hit by retaliatory nuclear weapons. We repeat, NATO has deployed tactical nuclear weapons. The Soviet Union may have already responded. Sorry for the delay, but I've now been told that Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher will be speaking in 30 minutes. We will broadcast this live, and until then...
Attack warning red. Attack warning red.
Attack warning? Is this for real?
Attack warning is for bloody real.
Attack warning red. Attack warning red. An enemy air attack is expected shortly. Repeat, an enemy air attack is expected shortly. Go immediately to your fallout room or the safest area of your home. Close all windows and doors. Take your radio with you. Bring food, water, and emergency supplies for at least 14 days. Do not use the telephone. Do not attempt to leave your shelter. Keep your radio tuned to BBC Radio 4 for further emergency instructions. Emergency powers are now in effect. Martial law has been declared. Attack warning red. Attack warning red. An enemy air attack is expected shortly. Repeat, an enemy air attack is expected shortly. Go immediately to your fallout room or the safest area of your home. Close all windows and doors. Take your radio with you. Bring food, water, and...
This is WTVA 9 with an update on the European conflict. After President Reagan fulfilled his earlier statement regarding tactical nuclear strikes, American forces have confirmed that the cities of Leipzig, Dresden, and Magdeburg have been hit with low-yield nuclear warheads. Roughly 2 hours later, the Soviet Union responded. Hanover, Stuttgart, and now, confirmed just minutes ago, London, England, have been struck by retaliatory missiles. Reports from unaffected regions in the UK suggest that the emergency powers have been activated prior to the strike. It is assumed that the Parliament have been destroyed. We apologize for the delay, but we now have a live transmission from the Royal Marines Recon Command Echo 2, currently surveying the damage over London. What you're about to hear may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is Royal Marines Recon Command Echo 2. We've arrived over London and the damage is unimaginable. London Bridge has fallen. The Big Ben Tower has crumbled.
This is the city I grew up in. My family once lived in a flat that doesn't even stand anymore. Bodies are everywhere, and with our Geiger counter spiking, more deaths will come. I see children and animals wandering. I see looters, those bastards. Hours left, and they're still taking what isn't bloody theirs. There's a little girl. She just collapsed. She's not moving. A mother is holding what I think is a baby, but the towel is soaked red. I can't say any more. Our oxygen is low. We're returning to base for decontamination and refueling.
Thank you, Royal Marines. My God. As you can tell, the situation in London is dire. We've been informed that similar surveys are being conducted over the West German strike zones. Now, there has been no update on the other side of this conflict, referring to the Soviet assault on Alaska, other than the reports that Canadian forces have joined the fight and are assisting Alaskan National Guard units in this emergency situation. In the meantime, we urge our viewers to keep their televisions and radios on in the event of an emergency broadcast system activation. Viewers are reminded that during a national emergency, WTVA-9 serves the northern Mississippi area. If you are currently watching and not a resident of northern Mississippi, please identify and keep note of the station serving your area. Thank you.
This is the wartime broadcasting service. This country has been attacked with nuclear weapons. Communications have been severely disrupted, and the number of casualties and the extent of the damage are not yet known. We shall bring you further information as soon as possible. Meanwhile, stay tuned to this wavelength, stay calm, and stay in your own house. Remember, there is nothing to be gained by trying to get away. By leaving your homes,
they forgot about us. They forgot about us. Hiding their warning while forgetting about us. While we suffer and die. Join. Or die. Join. Or die. The Vanguard will be waiting.